I was packing my daughter's last bag when I returned for her forgotten backpack. The house was dark, and I thought I had 2 minutes before my cheating husband came home. Then the lock clicked. He walked in with a woman who whispered, "She still trusts me." I knew that voice. Why was my best friend helping him plan their betrayal inside my house? I was zipping Sophie's last bag when I heard my husband's key turn in the front lock. Grant could not see my car from the driveway. I had parked on the road behind the house and planned to be inside for 2 minutes. I only came back again for Sophie's backpack. I switched off the lamp, pulled the bag against my chest, and moved toward the kitchen. I wanted to leave without seeing the man who had betrayed me. The front door opened. Grant stepped inside. A woman followed him. "She should be close to Blue Ridge by now," he said. The woman answered. "She told me she would not come back tonight." My hand was already on the back door. Then I stopped. I knew that voice before my mind was willing to name it. It belonged to the woman who had sat beside my hospital bed after surgery, the woman who had held my flowers at my wedding, the woman who had promised to love Sophie like her own daughter. Elaine, my best friend. I stayed in the dark, barely breathing. Grant asked whether I suspected anything about her. Elaine gave a laugh. "She suspects you. She still trusts me." Those words cut deeper than the message on his phone. That morning, I had handed Elaine my fear and the details of my plan. She had carried all of it straight to my husband. My pain had become useful information for their affair. But to understand why I was standing in that kitchen holding my daughter's backpack while my friend discussed me with my husband, I have to go back 16 hours. It was 1:57 in the morning. Grant was asleep beside me, breathing evenly, as if nothing had changed. His phone vibrated on the nightstand. The screen lit the room. "My tiger, the last 2 nights were unforgettable. I miss you already." Those 2 nights were supposed to have been spent in Houston at a leadership conference. I did not wake him. Instead, I photographed the message. I also captured the sender's name, hidden behind a single symbol. Then I emailed the pictures to my private account. I had spent years keeping records for other people's businesses. That night, instinct told me to keep one for myself. Then the smaller signs began lining up. Grant had started placing his phone face down. He showered the moment he came home. His business trips stretched into weekends. He no longer asked about my work. When I questioned his schedule, he treated my curiosity like an accusation. The frightening part of a marriage is not discovering one lie, it is looking backward and realizing that dozens of small excuses had been arranged into a system. I did not blame myself for believing him. Trust is not foolish when it is given to someone who promised to protect it. By morning, I had decided not to confront Grant. There was one person I trusted to help me think clearly: Elaine. I had no idea that before the day was over, that trust would lead her straight into my bedroom. I called Elaine as soon as Grant's car disappeared at the end of our street. She answered before the second ring. Before that, I had made it through breakfast without letting my hands shake. Grant drank coffee while reading email. He asked why I looked tired. I told him I had dreamed that everything I believed was real had only been a story repeated long enough to sound true. He paused. Then he smiled. "You think too much," he said. "We are fine. We are fine." The words settled between us like something cold. After he left, I changed my email password. I saved the photographs of his message in a cloud folder, then checked our accounts without moving money. I wrote down the balances in our savings account and Sophie's education fund. I placed our passports, birth certificates, and insurance papers in a separate bag. I was not planning revenge. I was making sure the truth could not disappear. Elaine met me at our usual coffee shop in Marietta. Her hair was curled, her makeup was perfect, and her coat looked freshly pressed. Everything appeared normal, except her eyes. They kept drifting toward the window. I showed her the message. Her face changed for only a second. "Do you know who the woman is?" she asked. It sounded like concern. Later, I understood that she was checking whether her name had been exposed. I told her I did not know. Elaine suggested the message might have been sent by mistake. Then she said, Grant might only be flirting. She reminded me that a marriage lasting more than 20 years should not end over one text. I needed to wait and let him explain. What unsettled me was not what she said. It was what she did not say. She did not sound angry for me. She only seemed afraid that I might act too quickly. When I said I planned to take the children to my parents' house in Blue Ridge, her questions came one after another. When would I leave? Had Sophie returned from her school trip? Was Ethan already with my parents? Would I come back that night? Did Grant know where I was going? I answered because I thought she was helping me think clearly. Her phone lit up. She turned it face down so quickly that the spoon beside her cup rattled. A moment later, she typed beneath the table. When I stood to leave, she did not hug me. "Do not do anything you will regret," she said. I answered, "The only thing I regret is believing I would never need to prepare for a day like this." I left believing I had placed my pain in the hands of the one person who could keep it safe. In truth, I had given Elaine the exact schedule she needed to enter my house without fear of being caught. Elaine's last words stayed with me as I drove home. "Do not do anything you will regret." I did not know that what she feared was that I might change my plan. The house felt different when I stepped inside. Our wedding picture sat on the shelf. The pencil marks showing the children's height were on the hallway wall. Grant's coffee cup was in the sink. Everything looked ordinary. That was what hurt. I went upstairs and packed only what I could justify: clothes for Sophie and me, our medications, my work computer, copies of tax records and insurance papers. I took the box holding the children's hospital bracelets and school pictures. I also packed the hard drive containing my client files. I left the jewelry where it was. I did not touch the watches or the money in the safe. I did not want to take anything that could later be used against me. I only wanted to make sure Grant could not take away my right to choose. Ethan had come home early from college and was with my parents. I had told him only that there was trouble between his father and me. Sophie was returning from her school trip. My plan was to pick her up, then drive to Blue Ridge. For a few minutes, guilt pressed down on me. The children were about to lose the family they believed they had. Then I corrected the thought. I was not the person breaking our family. I was only refusing to keep covering the broken pieces with a clean cloth. I carried the bags to the car, checked the doors, and took pictures of each room. I wanted a record of how I had left the house. I wrote no angry note. I made no threat. Grant's cup remained in the sink. I had driven several miles when a message from Sophie's teacher appeared on my phone. The reading packet in her backpack was due Monday. Then I remembered the inhaler. Sophie kept a spare one in the front pocket of that bag. I could replace the school supplies. I could not ignore her medication. So I turned around. Roadwork blocked the front entrance, so I parked behind the house. The driveway was empty. Every window was dark. I told myself I needed only 2 minutes. I unlocked the back door, crossed the kitchen, and found the backpack in the front closet. I had just pulled the zipper closed when metal scraped inside the lock. Someone was opening the front door. Before I tell you whose voice I heard on the other side of that door, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I always love seeing how far these stories travel. The key turned a second time, and the lock clicked open. I darkened my phone and stepped into the space between the kitchen and dining room. The back door was only a few feet away. I could have opened it and disappeared into the yard. For 1 second, I almost did. I was not afraid Grant would hurt me. I was afraid that if I saw his face, every bit of control I had built would collapse. I did not want Sophie or Ethan to hear later that their mother had screamed, broken something, or struck someone, so I stayed still. Grant came in laughing. "I told you!" "She is not coming back," Elaine answered quietly. "She was different this morning. She knows you are cheating." Silence followed. Then Grant asked, "Does she know it is you?" "No," Elaine said. "She still trusts me." The words landed harder than the message on his phone. Elaine began telling him everything I had said at the coffee shop. She told him I had photographed the text. She told him I planned to take Sophie to Blue Ridge. She told him I was not ready to confront him. She even told him I believed he would stay at the office. My private fear had become their schedule. Grant sounded amused. "Then meeting her this morning was useful." Elaine's voice tightened. "Do not talk like I do not care about her." Grant did not comfort her. "If you cared, you would not be here." Even he could see the lie she was telling herself. My phone gave a soft vibration. The doorbell camera had detected movement. I opened the alert and saw Grant entering the house, with Elaine close behind him. His hand rested against her back. She looked over her shoulder before stepping inside. I saved the video to the cloud and sent a copy to my private email. I did not know what the recording might prove later. I only knew that people who lied this easily should not be trusted to preserve the truth. Their footsteps moved toward the stairs. Grant said they had a few hours before deciding what came next. Elaine asked whether he still planned to tell me after that night. "When things calmed down," he said. That was when I understood he still believed honesty belonged to him. He would choose the time, the words, and the version of truth I was allowed to hear. I followed them upstairs. On one step, I remembered Grant carrying Sophie when she had a fever. On another, I remembered Ethan waiting there for his father. Near the top, I saw the railing I decorated every Christmas. The bedroom door stood partly open. Elaine said she could not keep pretending to be my friend. Grant answered, "You stopped being her friend a long time ago." I placed my hand on the light switch. I had thought I would cry when I saw them. Instead, I pushed the door open. For the first time, I was looking directly at the truth. I turned on the light. The room brightened so fast that both of them raised a hand, as if the light had offended them. Grant stood beside the bed, pulling at his tie. Elaine's coat lay across the chair where I usually sat to read. That detail hurt more than I expected. They had not chosen a hotel. They had chosen my room. "It is not what you think," Grant said. I looked at him. "You brought my best friend into our bedroom after she helped you confirm that I had left the house. I do not need imagination to understand this." He stepped toward me. I lifted one hand. "Do not touch me." He stopped. Elaine said my name softly. I turned to her. "You do not get to use my name as if we are still friends." Her mouth opened, but I did not let her hide behind another careful sentence. "When I sat across from you this morning and told you I could barely breathe, did you text him?" Elaine said nothing. The silence answered for her. Then she whispered that there were things about Grant and her that I did not know. "Whatever happened before I met either of you did not force you to lie to me today," I said. Grant tried to make the affair sound smaller. He said it had only been going on for a few months. He said he still loved me. People often say I still love you, when what they really mean is, I do not want to lose the life you built around me. I did not ask which one of us he loved more. I did not care. "From now on, anything about the children must be in writing," I said. "Do not come to Blue Ridge unless I agree." Grant followed me downstairs. "You are destroying 23 years over one mistake." I picked up Sophie's backpack. "A mistake is taking the wrong exit. The two of you made a plan." I walked out without slamming the door. The quiet felt stronger. For the first time, I was not waiting for either of them to explain my own pain back to me. Halfway to Blue Ridge, the fuel light came on. I pulled into a small gas station near the mountain road. The man behind the counter noticed my hands shaking and asked whether something was wrong with the car. Not the car, I said. He did not ask for details. He made coffee, checked my tires, and handed me the station's business card. He told me to call if the car gave me trouble on the mountain. Then he said, "You do not have to tell your story to a stranger. Just do not drive while your hands are still shaking." His kindness asked nothing from me. By the time I reached my parents' house, the sky was beginning to pale. My mother opened the door, looked at the suitcase, and asked whether Grant and I had argued. "No, Mom," I said. "I just found out my marriage ended before anyone bothered to tell me." My mother did not hug me. She looked at the suitcase, then past my shoulder, as if Grant might appear and explain everything. My father carried the bag inside, made coffee, and let me sit in silence. My mother wanted answers. What had Grant said? How long had it been going on? Was I certain? Did the children need to know? She was searching for a version of the truth that would let everyone return to the life we had before. Ethan was already there. When I told him about Grant and Elaine, he reached for his phone. I stopped him. "You are allowed to be angry, but you are not my lawyer, and I will not turn you into a weapon against your father." He looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Dad did not just lie to you. He let all of us live inside a story that was not real." So the damage had reached the children. Later, I picked up Sophie from her school trip. I told her only that her father and I would be living apart. She looked at the backpack. "Is this because I forgot it?" I pulled her close. "Nothing you did caused an adult to break a promise. Children often carry blame because no one removes it. I refused to let Sophie carry ours." When the children went outside, my mother said a marriage that had lasted more than 20 years should not be thrown away because of another woman. "Elaine did not end my marriage," I said. "Grant's choices did." She said men sometimes lose their way, and women had to think about the family. Why does keeping the family together always mean the betrayed person must suffer more? She had no answer. That afternoon, Grant's car entered the driveway. He stepped onto the porch holding flowers. My mother admitted she had called him. She said we needed to talk like a family. Grant asked to come inside. I stayed behind the screen door. "Sophie is here. You will not turn my parents' house into a stage for your apology." He asked for 5 minutes. "You had months to tell me the truth. You do not get 5 minutes because I finally stopped waiting." My mother told me not to make things harder. My father spoke behind me. "The person making this hard is not our daughter." Grant left. Minutes later, he texted that I would regret turning this into a legal matter. I called a family attorney. She told me not to sign, transfer, or withdraw anything before our meeting. Then I opened the joint accounts and recorded every balance. That was when I saw the transfer. Money had been taken from the savings account linked to Sophie's education fund. It went to a consulting company I had never heard of. The date matched Grant's trip to Houston. Until then, I thought he had only betrayed our vows. When I saw money missing from my daughter's future, I understood the affair had not only entered my bedroom, it had reached into my child's account. The next morning, I carried the transfer record, the doorbell video, and my laptop into Laura Doyle's office. I needed to know how long Grant had been planning this. Laura told me not to empty the accounts, argue online, or block all contact between Grant and Sophie. Every message had to be saved, and every discussion about our daughter moved to a parenting application. Then she studied the transfer. Do you know Parker Business Solutions? Elaine's last name was Parker. Nearly $18,000 had been moved from Sophie's education savings. The description read, "Executive Consulting Deposit." Elaine sold real estate and her company was only months old. Laura told me not to confront them. First, we needed to trace the money. Then Sophie's school called. Elaine was in the front office, claiming Grant had sent her because of a family emergency. Years earlier, I had listed her as an approved contact. Sophie saw her through the glass and refused to come out. "I do not want to go with the person who made my mother cry," she told the counselor. When I arrived, Elaine said, "Grant only wanted to see his daughter." "Then Grant can ask in writing," I said. "You will not use my child as a side door into this family." I asked the school to document everything and remove her from the pickup list. Watching Elaine enter my daughter's school as if she still belonged made something inside me harden. Kindness without boundaries is often mistaken for permission. That evening, Grant's attorney sent an emergency filing. Grant claimed I had taken Sophie without notice, blocked contact, frightened her against Elaine, abandoned the house, and tried to seize our money. He described Elaine as a family friend offering support. I wanted to call him and scream. Laura stopped me. "Do not give him a recording that fits the story he created." So I gave her the video, the school report, the bank statement, and Grant's threat. At the temporary hearing, the judge required us to use the parenting application. Elaine could not pick up Sophie. The education account was frozen. Neither of us could move major assets. Sophie would remain with me until mediation. Grant looked at me as if I had betrayed him. Some people can break vows, take a child's money, and lie in court, yet still believe the person setting boundaries is destroying the family. Outside, I knew I had not won everything, but Grant could no longer write the story without my evidence beside it. 3 days later, his mother called, and she had found a box that could change how all three of us understood the last 25 years. Margaret would not explain the box over the phone. She only asked me to come alone and bring patience, because what she had found could not be handled in a short conversation. Her house still held pieces of Grant's childhood. His graduation picture stood on the piano. His father's wooden clock ticked in the hallway. In the back room, an old writing desk sat beneath the window. Margaret was clearing the room because her mother needed full-time care. She opened a cedar box with a rusted lock. Inside were 2 bundles of letters. One stack had been written by Grant after his family moved away. The other had been written by Elaine during the same years. None had ever been delivered. Grant wrote that he would come back for her. Elaine wrote that she waited every day and could not understand why he had disappeared. The first letters were hopeful. The later ones were desperate. Then they stopped. Beneath them was another envelope. It contained a letter from Grant's grandmother to Elaine's mother. She wrote that Elaine would distract Grant from college and the future planned for him. She said they were too young to know what they wanted. Then she admitted she had kept both sets of letters so they would forget each other naturally. I felt pity and anger at once. One adult had made a decision decades earlier, then allowed several lives to grow around a lie. Margaret lowered her eyes. She said she knew Grant was writing, but believed Elaine never answered. Her mother had always spoken with such certainty that no one questioned her. "We called it protecting our children," she said. Maybe it was only deciding their lives for them. I asked why she had shown the box to me first. "Because any truth tied to your marriage should reach you before someone uses it to control you again." Her answer did not erase anything, but it mattered. For a moment, I wondered whether Grant had married me because he believed Elaine had rejected him. I wondered whether her friendship with me had ever been real. I wondered if my marriage had been built inside the space left by someone else. Then I remembered Grant crying when Ethan was born. I remembered the nights he stayed awake with Sophie when she had a fever. There had been love between us. That truth did not excuse what followed. The past can explain a wound. It cannot make every later choice unavoidable. Pain is not permission to cause pain. I photographed the letters and left the originals with Margaret. When I called Grant, I told him Elaine had never abandoned him, and he had never abandoned her. He was silent for a long time. Then he asked, "Does Elaine know?" His first question was still not about our marriage. After Grant asked whether Elaine knew, I understood what the letters had awakened in him. It was not regret. It was hope that he could rename what he had done and call it fate. We met 2 days later in Laura's conference room. Grant read the copies slowly. His hands shook near the final page. He said he had always believed Elaine chose not to answer. For years, he thought he had not been good enough. Seeing her again had opened something he thought was buried. He said he never planned the affair. It felt like being given back a stolen life. I let him finish. Then I asked, "When you realized you still loved her, why did you not tell me before you went to bed with her?" Grant looked down. He said he never wanted to hurt me. "You do not have to want the consequences to be responsible for your actions," I said. "The letters explain why both of you were hurt. They do not explain why you had to make me look foolish." People often search for a beautiful story to make an ugly choice feel meaningful. First love stolen by cruel adults sounded nobler than two people lying to someone who trusted them. A week later, Elaine asked to see me once. I agreed to meet at the rental house where Sophie and I were staying. Sophie was with my parents. Elaine arrived without makeup. She looked tired in a way sleep could not fix. She admitted that she knew Grant was my husband, the first time I introduced them. At first, she stayed close because it let her hear about him. Later, she said, our friendship became real. She had envied our family pictures. She knew his favorite meals, habits, and frustrations because I had told her. The affair began after a company party a few months earlier. Grant told her he had never forgotten her. I asked, "Did you ever listen to me talk about my marriage, then use those things to understand him better?" Elaine could not answer. She had taken our arguments, my worries about getting older, and our family schedule. She used them to become the woman who always understood him better than his wife. Elaine apologized. She said she did not expect forgiveness. "But you came here hoping I would say, 'I understand.' I told her, 'I do understand,' and you were still wrong." I told her not to contact Sophie, visit her school, use Ethan to carry messages, or call herself family. Elaine said she and Grant finally had a chance to be together. "You do not have the past back," I said. "You only have the present you created." After she left, I wondered what they would do when I was no longer standing between them as the person they could blame. I did not need to follow Grant and Elaine to know what happened next. The cracks began showing up in the financial records his attorney sent to Laura. Most of the money transferred to Elaine's company had paid for hotel rooms and the deposit on an apartment. Grant had promised to move in with her, but he kept delaying. Elaine wanted them to stop hiding. Grant worried about his reputation at work and what people would say. He also told Ethan that Elaine had nothing to do with our separation. When Elaine learned that, she felt denied. She had risked her friendship with me because Grant said they were finally choosing each other. Now he wanted to protect his image by pretending she was only standing nearby when our marriage ended. I did not feel pleased. I simply saw them beginning to use the same silence, excuses, and half-truths that had already destroyed my marriage. The final mediation took most of the day. Grant agreed to repay the money taken from Sophie's education account. I would keep the house until she finished high school, or receive the larger share of its value if it was sold earlier. Our retirement accounts would be divided according to the years of our marriage. Elaine could not take part in school pickup, medical decisions, or visits with Sophie. Grant's spending on hotels, gifts, and the apartment would not be treated as a shared family expense. He did not offer these terms because guilt had made him generous. He accepted them because the records were clear and a deeper financial review could have cost him more. Elaine was waiting outside the conference room. She expected Grant to leave with her. Instead, I heard them arguing in the hallway. She reminded him that he had promised they would never have to hide after the divorce. Grant said he had just lost his home, his money, and the respect of his children. He asked whether she expected him to celebrate. Elaine asked if he blamed her. Grant said that if she had not sent that message, everything might have been different. Elaine answered that if he had not replied, neither of them would be standing there. That was the moment their old love story began losing its shine. Affairs often survive in carefully chosen places: hotel rooms, secret dinners, late-night messages. They do not have to carry groceries, answer children's questions, or divide retirement accounts. Once ordinary life arrives, destiny can look a lot like avoidance. I once believed the worst thing would be seeing them happy together. Watching them fall apart did not satisfy me. Their failure could not return my trust. It could not erase the nights, Sophie cried. Revenge promises to fill an empty place, but it often leaves the taste of the pain you have already swallowed. I signed the agreement. Grant asked whether I might have forgiven him if the letters had been found sooner. Forgiveness does not mean returning, I said, and understanding you no longer means I have to live with your consequences. Then, I walked out with the key to my new house in my pocket. The key to my new house was not shiny or dramatic. It was ordinary, with one sharp edge. Still, for the first time in years, no one but me decided who could walk through that door. The house in Woodstock was smaller than the one Grant and I had shared. It had an office overlooking the backyard, a bedroom, Sophie could paint any color she wanted, and a worn sofa my father helped carry inside. The dining table did not match the chairs. None of it mattered. It was ours. Sophie painted blue, gold, and white across one wall in her room. When I asked what she called it, she smiled. Mom's second morning. I let it stay. For years, I had kept books for small businesses from home. After the divorce, I rented a modest office and began accepting more local clients. A few months later, I hired a woman returning to work after years of caring for her parents. She apologized for the gap in her resume. I told her ability does not disappear because life required her attention somewhere else. People often imagine financial freedom as a large bank account. For me, it began with knowing the next month's bills would be paid by work I controlled, not by someone else's conditional kindness. Ethan still kept his distance from Grant. I told him he could rebuild that relationship at his own pace. The choice had to belong to him. Sophie began meeting with her school counselor. She stopped blaming herself for the backpack and no longer searched my face after visits with her father. I never questioned her when she came home. You can tell me when you want, I said. You do not have to choose a side to prove you love me. My mother came one Saturday to help organize files. While we labeled boxes, she admitted she had forgiven many things in her marriage because she feared the judgment of neighbors, relatives, and people at church. I called it strength because I did not know what else to call my fear, she said. I did not tell her she had lived her whole life incorrectly. You can choose differently now, I said. A few weeks later, she began volunteering with a group that helped older women return to work. Grant eventually asked to speak through the parenting application. He admitted the affair was not his only failure. He had left me lonely for years. He had treated the stability I created as permanent, and my calmness as proof that I would never leave. I listened, but I made no promise. After the call, I did not cry. I felt only a dull ache, like touching a scar that had closed. One afternoon, while driving to Blue Ridge, I passed the gas station where Jack had once handed me coffee. This time my tank was full. I turned in anyway. I parked in front of the store and found Jack behind the counter, arguing with the coffee machine as if it owed him money. He looked up and smiled. "You are not crying this time. I am not out of gas either." Then you are improving in two directions. We sat at the same small table where he had once waited for my hands to stop shaking. I told him the divorce was final. Sophie was doing better. Ethan was finding his own way forward. I had opened an office, and my mother was beginning to question beliefs she had carried for most of her life. Grant had apologized. Elaine had accepted a job in Seattle. I did not know whether they still spoke. Jack asked if I needed to know. I thought about it, then shook my head. I did not. He invited me to dinner that weekend. Just dinner, he said. Not a 5-year plan. I laughed and agreed. We moved slowly after that. We had dinner. We walked through a local fair. Jack helped my father repair part of the fence, but he never tried to become a replacement father or husband. I introduced him to the children only when I felt ready. We did not rush to share a home. On the days I needed space, he respected it. I had once confused intensity with depth. Grant and Elaine described their feelings as something they could not resist. Jack taught me that mature love is often revealed by what someone does not pressure you to give. Months later, a letter arrived from Elaine. She did not ask to become friends again. She only wrote that she was learning to live with the fact that she had deeply hurt someone she had truly cared about. I did not answer. I placed the letter in a drawer, not because I wanted to preserve the past, but because I was no longer afraid of its existence. One evening, Jack and I sat on my front porch as the sky darkened. Sophie was laughing in the kitchen. Ethan had called from college. The house made its own quiet sounds around us. I once believed freedom would sound like a door slamming behind me. It did not. Freedom was the peace of no longer checking who was coming through the door. I did not need Grant to regret his choices forever, to know he had been wrong. I did not need Elaine to lose everything to prove I had been betrayed. And I did not need Jack to rescue me to prove I was still worthy of love. My value did not begin when a man chose me. It did not end when another choice betrayed me. Sometimes the greatest victory is not making the people who hurt you fall to their knees. It is standing upright, carrying the truth, protecting the people you love, and walking away without losing yourself. Do you believe I was right to end the marriage after learning the truth about the letters? And how satisfied are you with the way my story ended?